Tyler. I decided in 2020 I want to try more new things. I've been in radio my entire adult life and I don't have a lot of other useful skills, so I want to learn new things, try new things, and thanks to Adelphia Seafood for humoring me and giving me the chance to learn to make sushi. Also, I'm going to try a particular seafood I've never tried before, so stay tuned for that as well. Alright, I'm behind the scenes here at Adelphia Seafood where they make their sushi with sushi making master Bill. First, let's talk about the components that make up your superior sushi.
Well, sushi starts with the seasoned rice, and that's actually what sushi means, is seasoned rice. So you start by cooking the rice perfectly every time. In sushi, mainly it's about preparation and consistency. So having everything prepared properly, having everything consistently cut and sized and ready to go for every roll.
Alright.
Today we're going to make a salmon roll, and we're making the salmon using our Norwegian salmon, which is flown in from Norway every day, whole and cut in-house on property. We have our own fish cutters who cut the salmon off the bone literally the day after it was
You can't get fresher unless you're in Norway making your sushi.
Especially, yep. So to do the salmon roll, we have our nori, we have our rice, we have our nori, we have our salmon, asparagus, and avocado. So we're going to take the salmon, we want to cut it into a perfect block so that every roll will get the exact amount of salmon in each roll.
Okay.
As I said, consistency is key. So alright, and that's the salmon that's going to go into our roll, and you will want every piece of salmon to look exactly the same. We cut it in, when we cut the block to be the perfect size to go in on the nori. That way we know when we get it done, it'll be the perfect size to go in.
Okay, so you're going to show me basically how to put it together, and then I'm going to try to do it.
Yes. So we start with especially nori that we buy, which is pliable yet not too brittle that it would break, so it's easy to work with.
Okay.
We have our rice.
So this is seaweed? Or is there
That is a seaweed sheet.
Okay.
It's just seaweed. So we have our seasoned rice here. We're going to try to get the perfect amount of it.
Okay.
And we are going to place it on the nori. Right? The nori, to work with sushi is difficult because to handle the rice, which is very sticky,
right,
your hands need to be a little bit wet.
Oh,
but to handle
okay,
the nori, they need to be perfectly dry because you don't want the nori to get soggy.
So it's sort of like when you're baking and you're using the flour, but you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you're touching the rice, you want your hands to be slightly wet so you can maneuver the rice properly. You don't want to smash. You're not trying to smash it down because otherwise it would be too thick and too get mushy.
Right.
You're trying to maneuver the rice around the nori so it gets a nice thin layer of rice all the way across.
So basically, you don't want to see the nori, and then you're
correct. You don't want to see the nori, and then you pay special attention to getting it in the corners.
Okay.
It's mostly it's tough to get it to be perfectly square, so that you have, when you're done, your sushi roll will be perfect all the way throughout.
Okay.
All right. And once we've gotten to there, we sprinkle most of our rolls are sprinkled with a combination of black and white toasted sesame seeds.
Oh, okay.
But we do have some of our specialty rolls that we had created, like our shrimp roll, which we call our Baltimore roll, as well as our shrimp roll, as well as our Baltimore roll. The one has shrimp, it's sprinkled with Old Bay. The Baltimore has crab inside, but it's also sprinkled with Old Bay. So you get that flavor on the outside, which when you put it in your mouth, you get that Old Bay flavor right off the bat, and it really kind of accentuates the roll.
I didn't know that was a thing. I need to try this.
Well, I don't know that any other place is doing it. Being a seafood house,
how many varieties of sushi do you have?
We have 18 different rolls that we make. We make 6 rolls a week. We make our 4 base rolls, which is our salmon, our tuna, our California, and our shrimp roll. And then we make 2 specialty rolls each week, one from specialty tier number 1 and one from specialty tier number 2 at a different price point. So for example, this week's specialty rolls that we have our Boston roll, which is a veggie roll topped with our Adelphia's lobster salad that is topped on top of it. And then we have our second roll is our Baja California roll, which is a California roll topped with raw spicy tuna.
All right, let's get to making the sushi. Okay.
Black and white sesame seeds. That's when our hands are dry, so we can handle the nori again.
Okay.
All right.
Ooh, flip it.
Flip it over. All right, now we're going to put in our toppings. And the only thing you can't really prep ahead of time is the avocado because it will brown.
Oh,
so the avocado basically has to be done during the process.
Yeah, I think that I was confused. I was saying earlier avocado, I think California roll, but you put avocado in several different rolls.
Several different rolls have the avocado in it, yes.
Okay.
You know, when we're creating the roll, when we created the rolls, we were trying to think of what would be good in certain things, and the avocado and asparagus just seems to go very well with
That
this
sounds yummy.
salmon roll.
Great.
All right, so when we're doing this roll, we're almost using the asparagus as a helper to help keep everything together because it's so firm. So when we go to roll it, we're
Sushi
going to, yes, we're going to hold it in with that, and we're going to flip the nori over and roll it so that it gets inside of, so this nori needs to get inside of there so we can tuck it in. Okay?
Oh, okay, so that's before you use that tool over there, or you do this
Correct.
by hand?
We do this one by hand.
Oh, okay,
Or at least that's the way we're taught here. You can also do it on the sushi mat, which sometimes helps with the rolling, but this we found is one little trick here that we're going to do, and you'll see. I'm going to wet my thumbs only because I'm going to put my thumbs on the underside and work with the rice.
Okay. This is so complicated.
So when I get underneath, we're just going to tuck, and I'm going to use my thumbs to help roll it over, and that way they don't stick to the rice, and my fingers are inside the nori so that they don't stick to the nori. Right? Once I've got it rolled, make sure everything stays in there.
Avocado.
All right, that's our basic roll, and then we use our rolling mat. All right, and our rolling mat is here to tighten it and make it a nice, perfect cylinder all the way around. So you want it to be nice and round. The bottom sometimes tends to get a little bit squared off, so we're going to touch that up as well. That is our salmon roll.
That is beautiful.
Then from there, we are going to trim off the edges just to make sure it's a perfect square.
Okay.
And then to cut the roll, you want it to be nice, perfect sport. So what we found is the best way to do is to cut it directly in half.
Okay.
Flip it around, you'll see it's perfectly sized.
Yeah.
Then we cut it in half again. And then each half in half again.
And don't worry, any of the sushi you get here is not going to be made by me. I'm not a master yet.
And then it is simply trayed up. You can see the beautiful colors in there of the asparagus and the avocado with the nice bright salmon. Again, when you're getting your sushi, if you look at it, you can tell the freshness and the quality of the product by looking at the part that's inside. I mean, you can see the nice fat lines that are in there. The Norwegian salmon is known for the fat lines with the omega-3 oils that are in there. That salmon is so famous for making it that healthy. That's what you're looking for, and because of those cold waters up in Norway, the Norwegian salmon tends to grow very nice, thick fat lines.
It kind of looks like it's smiling at you. The two pieces of it, like there's the eyes, and it's like, hi. Okay, I'm gonna try to make sushi, sort of by myself, sort of. I mean, he did slice the salmon for me. I wasn't trusted to do that. This is an expensive piece of meat right here, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, so wetting the fingers, and then gently picking up the rice. I mean, how much do I need? 2 handfuls? Is this about right?
That's a good start.
Is that a good start?
Well, what you have in your hand as well.
Okay. Okay. Oh, like that. Oh no. Okay. And then we want that.
Lay it down nicely.
Okay. And then we
maneuver the rice.
Massage it. Okay. We're not smushing it. We're massaging the rice. And we're getting it into the corners. Alright. I'm sure this is super fascinating for you right now. Okay. Do I need more? Or do I just need to maneuver it?
You just need to continue maneuver. You don't want those spots that are there. You want that the rice to
You don't want to see the nori.
Correct.
No. No naked nori. Okay. Okay. I don't know that I have a future in this. I mean, this is my first one. But I'm just saying, I'd much rather them make my sushi and just me just eat it. Alright.
Okay, looking pretty good.
Okay. Alright. Maybe I was being a little too gentle. I was afraid.
It's good enough to roll.
It's good enough.
So we're going to sprinkle it.
Which is not good enough for you guys. It's just good enough for me right now. Okay, so next we're sprinkling.
Okay is not okay?
Okay is not okay.
Sprinkle a little bit of the toasted seeds on it.
See if I can even do this. Woo. Is that good?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
All right, now if our hands are dry, we're going to pick up the nori and flip it over.
I mean, they're dry-ish.
That's fine.
Okay.
Should be fine.
I'm flipping it. Yeah.
There you go.
Just like making a pancake, but not really. Okay.
Now we're going to put the avocado on first.
Okay.
And there's sort of a stretch that you want to try and straighten that out as you put it on the nori.
What does that mean?
So as you put it on, just sort of straighten it.
Okay.
So, because we want everything to be straight across.
Okay. And down there, like on the bottom third, kind of.
Yes, well, that's another thing that as you're rolling sushi, people get comfortable. I know some people that line it up they like it in the middle.
Oh.
I actually like mine closer to the edge.
Because it makes it easier for you to roll it?
It makes it easier for me to roll.
Okay, I can see that.
So, but different rollers have different techniques.
Okay.
Now, the salmon will go on top of the asparagus. Or, I'm sorry, on top of the avocado.
He does know what asparagus is, I swear. Okay.
And then the asparagus, you're gonna flip those. You're gonna flip these so that the thinner parts are together.
Okay.
And the thicker parts go towards the outside.
Makes
Again,
sense.
to try to make a consistent
and then
bite.
And it's also going to be prettier, maybe. Is that, what do you think?
That's perfect.
Oh, where did you come from, Rice? I don't know. Okay.
All right, now when you're gonna roll it, you're gonna use your fingers to hold the asparagus down while using your thumbs to flip and roll it in. So you're gonna wet your thumbs because you're gonna be dealing with the rice. Thumbs only.
Thumbs in the pool. Okay.
And then hold on to the asparagus and roll with the thumbs.
I'm so scared. Okay.
Once you get over, make sure you're tucking that nori in.
Tuck, tuck, tuck.
And continue to roll it so that now, oops, I'm going to just tuck this roll.
Okay.
Tuck that, and now that nori is going to stick to that rice as you finish the roll.
Gotcha. This is not as pretty as yours. Alright.
A little bit more. Alright.
Alright, and
Now
now
we're going to grab our mat.
Sushi mat. Sushi mat. Okay.
We're going to try to apply gentle pressure across the entire roll. And my technique is to kind of drag my hands out.
Like from the center
But
out?
some people just, you can just squish it, but whatever you're comfortable with or whatever.
Alright, again massaging.
Alright, let's take a look at it.
Alright.
Looks
It
good.
doesn't look horrible.
Let's roll it over so we can round out that square end. And this is where you'll see if the roll, there's a little bit of separation there.
I destroyed it.
But it should be okay.
It should still taste good. Okay, we'll just... Like I said, they won't be selling this one.
We're going to eat this one.
Yeah.
Alright.
Okay, it's still square.
It's okay.
That's making me
It'll be
uncomfortable.
fine.
I'm a perfectionist.
Now, did you want to cut it?
You trust me with that knife? Sure. Okay. I noticed there's numbers on here. Maybe I should like eyeball it that way.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that look center-ish?
Directly in half. Yep. But you gotta kind of slice through as you're going.
I have no knife skills either.
Every single part of doing sushi is every little step has something that you need to do. All right, so you need to square off the ends here. So again, we're gonna kind of saw through it right about here just to square that end off.
Oh, like that?
Yep, and then you can hold on to both of them as you're doing it to keep them together.
You actually need a little upper body strength to do that. Just a little. Probably more than I have.
Right. Then we are going to cut those in half.
Okay. Alright.
It's
I know
a combination
it's like,
of getting it to slice through and push down at the same time. Pushing down, we're squishing it a little bit. So
right, so it doesn't fall apart as
right.
There's
a technique to, like I said, every step to sushi has a technique.
We do one more.
Cut them in half one more time.
Watch out, thumbs. Oh no! We have avocado escaping. Okay.
Half again.
I would also want to not be a part of the sushi. Okay.
Alright.
I kind of did it.
You kind of did it.
I kind of did it. Thanks for your kindness. And now we get to the truly fun part, the part where I get to taste my creation. And Bill was telling me that there are a lot of ways to customize your sushi after you buy it. So what do we have here?
All right, we've developed 3 different crunchies that are very popular in sushi right now. So we have our seasoned crunchy, which is kind of a basic crunchy that goes with most rolls. We have our Old Bay crunchies, which is the panko crunchies with a little bit of Old Bay seasoning in there. Goes very well with the Baltimore roll, the shrimp roll. We have our wasabi crunchies, and that's the panko breading with the wasabi mixed in there as well.
Yeah.
And that can turn your roll from a spicy plain roll to like a spicy roll.
Yeah.
It pairs very well with the honey wasabi sauce. Goes with the tuna roll. The shrimp roll is very good with it, things like that.
Okay, so what would you do with
Right.
this particular
So
roll?
for our salmon roll, I think we should turn our salmon roll into a spicy salmon roll by adding our spicy boom boom sauce to it.
Alright, I love that name, Spicy Boom Boom. That's a lot. Can I handle that?
Do you like spicy?
I have a tolerance. I have a tolerance.
Let's do the spicy sauce and a little bit of seasoned crunchies.
Woo!
And see how you like that.
Okay. That is really good. I'm sorry to talk my mouth full, but yeah, I can handle that level of heat. Unless it's like a slow burn.
Well,
Unless something's coming.
Well, we do have our Phoenix roll, which is spicy crab, spicy tuna, boom boom sauce, and topped with a jalapeno slice. So.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
All right, and the second way I would like you to try it is with the honey wasabi sauce. Right, this is again, it's a sauce that we created here. It's a combination that's going to hit you. First, it hits the palate with the sweet honey. Then there's a little bit of lemon zest in there that separates it, and then the wasabi kicks in.
You know,
So
I
it's
heard
like
at
a
some point that there
three-part
was a wasabi shortage. Did you hear about that?
Not.
But yeah, maybe there's no real evidence of that, but I heard that that was a thing. I heard that some people were using horseradish instead of wasabi. You wouldn't dare do that.
No, we wouldn't dare do that.
Okay.
All right. Give that a try.
We're gonna do Sam's crunchies on this
With
one?
no crunchies on this one. I want you to just taste the sauce because this is one of my favorites.
Okay. I like it. I don't know which one I like better. I would have to alternate. Yeah, I like the combination. I like having a little bit of sweet with my savory.
Well, that's what I love about it is that it comes in like 3 different waves as it gets you. That sweetness, then a little lemony, and then the wasabi kicks in.
And the creaminess from the avocado and like the rice, it's just perfectly cut. It's really, really good. I really like sushi now. I don't know that I've ever had sushi that's this good.
Thank you.
And I made it. No. I mean, kind of. I assembled it with some help. Now, I feel like it's really appropriate that we did the salmon roll first because I was looking up aphrodisiacs with Valentine's Day coming up, and that one's really high in omega-3s. So they kind of consider salmon an aphrodisiac. You know, anything that's good for the heart gets the blood pumping. But the only scientifically proven aphrodisiac, at least according to the internet, you gotta believe everything you read there, right?
It's on the internet.
Yeah, is the oyster, and I have never had one. I've never had one.
All right, we have 2 beautiful oysters for you today. This is our Virginia oyster. It's called a Virginia Malbec. And then this one is a Martha's Vineyard oyster.
Okay.
They have 2 different flavor profiles. You can see that they're different size. The shells are a slightly different shape. And all of that is based on where it's grown and how it's grown.
Okay.
Or cultivated.
Okay, gotcha.
So the Virginia ones have a nice thick shell and they're hard and kind of meaty. That's because they're grown right at the mouth of the James River and where it meets the ocean. So there's a lot of turbulence that moves the oyster around. So it has to grow a thick shell to protect itself. And because it's also grown where fresh water meets seawater, it's a very mild flavored oyster. So this is sort of considered like a beginner's oyster, or the oyster that's going to kind of get you into them.
Makes sense as a beginner.
Not quite as salty, so that you don't
you're not like,
get turned off to the oyster.
Okay.
As you learn to appreciate them, you move into other oysters that have different flavors as well as different salt profiles. Like the Martha's Vineyard is more of a medium saltiness to it, and it's a nice thin shell with a deep cup because it's actually grown in bays on Martha's Vineyard. So it's a very mild climate, so it doesn't have to grow that thick shell. So it keeps a nice thin shell, but it develops a nice round cup so that it'll hold a lot of that variety. That's what the Martha's Vineyards are known for.
Okay. And as far as eating them, so people eat them raw, people eat them cooked as well.
Yes, you can cook them in the half shell, and you can eat them cooked. You can take them out of the half shell. You can throw them on the grill, and they'll cook just like that, but then cook them upside down so that the broth stays in there.
Okay.
And when they cook, they will open up.
Gotcha.
So, and that's when you know that they're done.
Right.
That's my favorite way. If I'm going to cook them, that's my favorite way. My favorite way is to eat them raw.
Okay. How do you get into them when they're raw without hurting yourself?
Well, the oysters, these are a live organism. All right, so they're alive right now, and you should eat a raw oyster immediately upon opening it. Okay?
Oh boy.
So that's why the shuckers do the raw bars. They're shucking them and opening them right as you're about to eat them.
Okay. So do you put anything on them?
Well, you can top them with either horseradish. Some people do cocktail sauce, squeeze a little lemon juice on it, or a mignonette, which is like a vinegar and shallot or vinegar and cucumber
I'm learning
mixture.
So many things.
So it's more of a natural way to get that acidity into it. Or you can do a combination of different things. Some people do a little horseradish and squeeze a little lemon, or cocktail with a little bit of this or that. So you can do any of those things on it.
Now, as a beginner, and I think that was my main concern as a kid, I was like, the texture, what's the texture like? So do you just give it a good chew or not really? Or how do you eat the oyster?
The best way to try it, at least try each oyster, the best way to do it is to eat it naked.
Okay.
As is. The oyster has two different flavors that you're going for. The salinity level comes mainly from the juice. Okay. And that's what you're going to get right off the bat. Okay. Then you should give the oyster one or two chews so that you can get the flavor of the meat as well. If you slurp it straight down, you're not really going to be able to appreciate the true flavor of the meat. Because the oyster, the meat gets flavored by what it's filtering. So if it's in an area where there's a lot of clay bottom up to the seafloor or something like that, it might take on an earthy flavor. You'll hear people talk about it having an earthy flavor. Martha's Vineyard, because in the bays there's a lot of seaweed in the bays, so they actually have what's called a grassy flavor, or almost a cucumber or an asparagus flavor.
It's a grass-fed oyster.
So, but the environment it's in, because it's filtering that water, whatever's in the water is going to then be absorbed by the meat.
Okay. Okay, so I guess show me how to get into it, and then after you do, like, how does it come out of does it come out of the shell easily? I feel like I want to watch you eat one.
There's a technique to it. A good shucker will make an oyster perfect for you to be able to eat the first time. Okay? There's a couple of things that we're going to do to it. First of all, every oyster has what's called the hinge. Every oyster is going to be, every variety of oyster has a different kind of way that you can get in there. So notice how this hinge is very large. This hinge is very small and pointy, right, from the different varieties. But then again, every individual oyster is going to have its own little tuft. So to get to the hinge is the sweet spot. Okay. You get your shucking knife into that hinge as far as you can get it. Okay, because you want to get the most amount of pressure when you're opening it. Once I get my knife in, I'm going to turn the knife while pushing in, and that's going to release it. Okay. Then I'm sliding my knife along the top edge of the shell to cut the oyster loose from where it was connected to the shell. And then I'm going to take the oyster and I'm going to cut it loose from the bottom as well.
That tool is specifically for this, I presume.
So then that oyster is sitting in there. I tried to preserve as much of the juice as possible.
Okay.
All right, and now it's cut loose. So all you have to do is take it and slurp it down.
Okay. I don't know. I feel like I'm very brave letting you watch me do this. Slurp. I don't even like the word slurp. Okay. That was more than a couple chews. I do realize this.
Well, the Virginians are a little bit of a larger oyster. Yes.
I guess you have to learn how to not chew your food after you've taught yourself to chew your food for this long.
Well, the more you chew it, the more you get to appreciate the flavor.
Yeah, that was good. And I was surprised at how tender it was. Like, I was expecting it to be hard to chew through it.
No, unlike like clams, you think of them to be chewy and things like that. People think that the oysters might be the same way, but they're not. They're super tender, especially when
maybe that's where my brain was going, because, I grew up eating clam chowder. Without the clams, I end up picking out the clams sometimes. I mean, I'll eat them now as an adult. But
so the Martha's Vineyard is a little bit more delicate, a little bit tougher, and the shell's thin, so you have to be very careful when you're shucking it. So you have to really get in there and get that hinge and get it open on the sweet spot.
It's unhinged now. All right.
This is a much smaller oyster.
So it is.
cut loose from the shell, so it is ready to go as well.
All right.
That one's going to be a little heavier salinity to it.
Okay.
And the meat, as I said, hopefully will have that grassy kind of flavor.
All right, grass-fed oyster time. Yeah, I definitely get the grass. And it is saltier, much saltier.
Yes.
Yeah. Boy, if I had to pick one, I do like the salty.
There are hundreds of types of oysters that are out there, and again, they all vary slightly between, like I said, the level of salinity and then the flavor of the meat.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking me on this journey with sushi and oysters, and I feel super knowledgeable right now. Maybe, just maybe, I could do this for a living. Maybe. I don't know. This first try at Tuesday is going to be pretty hard to beat thanks to Adelphia Seafood and the extremely knowledgeable Bill. I'm leaving a huge sushi fan, knowing that they've got the best sushi in town right here, and also realizing I like oysters. So yeah, definitely think Adelphia Seafood for your Valentine's Day meal, or, you know, any meal. Really, yeah, I read this week that couples that consume 2 or more portions of seafood a week have 21% more fun times, if you know what I mean. From Adelphia Seafood, it's Leah Tyler.